Wubin pulled over at a shabby building, quickly got out of his car, and went inside. He approached a guy sitting alone, focused on his laptop. Excited to see Wubin, the guy greeted him warmly, mentioning that it had been a long time since they had last seen each other. He congratulated Wubin on becoming the president of his family's organization. However, Wubin, speaking in a serious tone, ignored the compliments and stated that they would talk about that some other time. Right now, he needed his help urgently. Handing him his cell phone, he asked if he could track the location from which the last call he received had been made. The guy looked at the number and assured him he could do it, quickly clicking away on his laptop. Wubin grew impatient, his thoughts consumed with worry, hoping and praying that Yuna was safe wherever she was. After a moment, the guy informed him that he had found the location. He wrote it down on a piece of paper and handed it to Wubin. Just as Wubin was about to leave, he turned back and asked the guy for a gun. Concerned, the guy asked what was going on, but Wubin ignored the question, simply asking whether or not he had a gun. The guy shook his head, saying he didn't have one, and asked again if everything was okay. Wubin, without answering, thanked him and told him he would pay him before rushing out. Meanwhile, Sonjin pulled up at the restaurant where Minsu and Yuna had been earlier. He quickly entered and found two waiters cleaning up. Approaching them, he requested to see the restaurant's CCTV footage. One of the waiters informed him that they were closed and that the security guard, who could assist him, had already left for the night. Growing more anxious, Sonjin asked if they had seen a particular girl, moving closer to show them a picture of Yuna. One of the waiters stared at the image for a moment before nodding, saying he had seen her sitting with a black girl. He mentioned that Yuna had been extremely drunk and had passed out on the table. Sonjin stepped even closer and asked if he had seen her leaving the restaurant. The waiter explained that he had been outside throwing out trash when he saw a man carrying Yuna to his car. Assuming the man was a family member helping her since she was intoxicated, he had not thought much of it. Relieved to finally be getting some information, Sonjin pressed for more details, asking for a description of the man and, if possible, the car's license plate number. The waiter agreed and provided as much information as he could. After thanking him, Sonjin quickly walked out, got into his car, and drove off. Wubin, following the route displayed on his phone, occasionally glanced at the screen to ensure he was headed in the right direction. Checking the time, he pressed harder on the gas pedal, increasing his speed. He spoke to himself, urging Yuna to hold on, promising that he would save her. Yuna sat in a dark room, tears filling her eyes. She struggled to remember what had happened, but could not recall anything clearly. The door swung open and the man returned, looking furious. He demanded that she call another number. Yuna, trembling, insisted that she had a bad memory, and that the number she had already given him was the only one she could remember. The man, growing more frustrated, reminded her that he had given her time to think of other numbers she could call. He warned that if she was of no use to him, there was no reason to keep her alive. Moving closer, he looked at her and told her that he was going to kill her. Yuna's heart pounded as she looked toward the door, hoping someone would walk in and save her. She begged him to spare her, promising that if he let her go, she would pay him and tell no one what had happened. The man laughed, calling her clever. He reached out, touching her face, and remarked that she was cute. With a sinister grin, he suggested that perhaps he would do something else to her before getting rid of her. As he touched her, Yuna sat there frozen, accepting her fate. She thought about how she was going to die young and regretted not having more time with her family to tell them she loved them. Just as the man was about to take off her dress, the door burst open. Wubin stormed in, his eyes burning with fury. He rushed at the man, grabbed him, and threw him to the floor before unleashing a series of brutal punches. Yuna watched in shock as Wubin beat the man mercilessly, his rage transforming him into someone she barely recognized. As Wubin choked the man, coming dangerously close to killing him, Yuna found her voice and screamed for him to stop. Wubin stood up, covered in blood, and turned to look at her. He looked like a wild beast that had just been awakened. Yuna, both terrified and relieved, realized she had never seen this side of him before.